This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today's talk focuses on a news flash from the Wall Street Journal that Tesla's in some trouble because of a new 10% tariff imposed by China in its battle with the Trump administration. So our goal today is to sort of cover this and review the implications of the Wall Street Journal's hatred of Tesla. If you'll notice behind me, we're at Catholic University here in Washington, D.C., and the Basilica is behind me. If it's good enough for the Pope, it's good enough for us too. So you'll have to pardon me because we're in the mobile zone with a little bit of shakiness there, but I think we'll work it out. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Today's show is, we tend to do a What is the Wall Street Journal Talking About Now show, at least, once a quarter or 4 times a year. The latest iteration of that came based on a story that was just placed in the Wall Street Journal, and it focuses on the fact that the 10% tariff imposed by China would harm Tesla sales in China, and therefore, Tesla was in some trouble. So what we wanted to highlight is the fact that unless they have to report things like earnings, the Wall Street Journal has been a very consistent effort to say negative things about Tesla. Now, we think it's unfortunate, unnecessary, but there's a lot of consistency to it. And we wanted to highlight that because I think for the quality of journalism that they do, we expect a lot more from them. And we have some other points to make on it. Just a quick reminder, we do rely on your support in the form of taking 10 or 15 seconds to watch an ad or two, as well as your like and subscribes greatly have an impact. We'd also love to get your support on Patreon if you can afford it. On a monthly basis would be greatly appreciated. So our conversation today is kind of interesting. Over the last couple of 3 years, we've noticed a consistent effort on the part of both CNBC and the Wall Street Journal and other news outlets to always identify negative commentary on Tesla and work very hard to sort of promote that negative commentary across other news cycles. The biggest example of this that we are exposed to was when Elon Musk announced the Semi. The Wall Street Journal, within 3 weeks, they had rounded up experts. The expert that we've emphasized is that there's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and he actually came up with some information regarding the viability of the truck. He basically took 2170 batteries and constructed how big the battery pack might be for a Semi, and came to the conclusion that with the vehicle weighing as much as 60 to 65,000 pounds in weight, once you put 300 miles of range worth of battery on it in the 18650 format, you end up with a non-viable Semi, and therefore Elon Musk's boast or argument that he could put this truck together was basically not viable. So what we concluded, based on Elon Musk both putting the truck together and it's viable and the ability to put together on a 2170 battery, made it clear that all the analysis done by the journal in order to jam Tesla really didn't work out. So we wanted to sort of review this information with you because in the latest iteration, the discussion has been focused on the fact that the Chinese were imposing a 10% tariff on all automobiles, and that this tariff would really harm Tesla because it's really relying on the growth in Chinese sales to really drive the company. So as a result, the next thing that happened was that the Chinese actually announced that with the help of Elon's visit to China, that the 10% tariff imposed on US vehicles and other products would not apply to Tesla. And it's interesting to note that after this new information came out, there was no effort by the Wall Street Journal to retract the statement or to put out a new statement articulating that this would not impact Tesla. So we found it really amazing the degree to which an organization with the reputation worldwide of this ilk would be inclined to sort of deliver information that was not of the best quality. So we're highlighting this to you because there's another issue, which is Rupert Murdoch now owns the Wall Street Journal, and he has a lot of friends in the oil industry and in industries that might be negatively impacted by the growth of Tesla. So we can definitely see why it is that we're seeing a demonstrated effort by the Wall Street Journal and even CNBC to regularly identify negative voices about the future of Tesla and to promote those voices readily whenever possible. But if the news is good or potentially suggests Tesla will do well in this situation, there seems to be an effort to not offer high quality journalism and coverage to it. So we kind of wanted to note this today because part of the dialogue we're having with our viewers is that we generally have positive comments to say about what's going on with Tesla, but we have to recognize the fact that one of the reasons Elon left the 75% of the intellectual property in open patents for Tesla was to try to find a way to grow the EV industry and avoid having some very powerful entities leverage the power that they have in the marketplace to shut Tesla down and shut the miracle of electric vehicles down. And so basically, there's a lot of folks like the Koch brothers in the oil business, like General Motors and other auto companies that want to slow the progress of electric until they can get quality products out there. And then they'll be willing to embrace the industry. But in the meantime, they're going to really use the power of their dollars to sort of sway public away from companies like Tesla. And we think it's unfortunate for the planet and everybody else involved. So we're really looking forward to your comments on this because usually the Wall Street Journal has at least a once a quarter hatchet job on Tesla, and Bob Lutz being rolled out quarterly to comment on Tesla and its lack of capabilities is there. This brings up an interesting conversation that's popped up, which is what is going to happen with the Elon Musk is scheduled in November to announce the new pickup truck. And this raises an interesting question because we know that they're working on the pickup truck in the design phase, and then there are many phases to getting this to a finished product and delivered. And again, you'll notice that while this vehicle is being worked on, has been worked on for quite a while, there's no revenue attached to it. And so what this then means is that it's another project the company has to work on that's consuming dollars but not offering revenue. So this further begs the question we've talked about on numerous occasions, which is how do you view Tesla? Should you view it on the fact that they're losing money, or should you look at the fact that they're losing money working on new products like the pickup truck that will drive growth in the future, and that money is well spent because it helps set up a stronger future for Tesla as it gets its sort of battery structure figured out. So our answer is that I think they got to spend heavily because there are good competitors out there preparing to make Tesla's life miserable. So it's a good idea to expend the resources now to build an infrastructure of products that will drive the company successfully into the future. I will admit that we really feel that the huge difference maker for Tesla right now is being able to put your truck on the road that can carry reasonable amounts of freight in the electric space. Because as we've discussed numerous times, 25% of all the pollution out there is actually large trucks doing deliveries. And so if we could have Tesla maybe cut back on some of the battery use in cars, et cetera, and boost the number of semis that are on the road, it'd make a huge difference in terms of the pollution impact that we've been discussing on numerous occasions. So at any rate, pickup truck looks good. It's a heavily purchased area for a lot of folks, so we're very much looking forward to it coming out. So, please take your time to share commentary. I will agree, we've had a couple of folks in our Patreon group as well as other folks that have either been trolls or folks focused on the negativity. But let me assure you that there's a large number of folks with a negative outlook on Tesla, and they're spending a whole bunch of money to help make sure the public is exposed to this. And we want to do our part to be aggressively truthful as journalists, but we also want to make sure that there's an effort to highlight the fact that, Tesla has a lot of very powerful, rich entities gunning for them right now, and we definitely need to find a way to counteract this a little bit. The last thing we wanted to sort of dive in today is we talked about in our last show a discussion of sort of the Norway miracle. So electric vehicles in general are running 50% of the marketplace in Norway, with Tesla actually being the largest seller of vehicles there. There are some articles that have come out regarding sort of what's going on with the electric purchase miracle in Norway that I guess are noteworthy, but probably lean towards the negative on what's going on with EVs. The first of those is the fact that when you add it up, people buying Teslas in Norway tend to be very wealthy, number one. Number two, despite their heavy move towards EVs, Norway is still only seeing about a 10% reduction in the carbon emissions related to vehicles. Number four was the argument as to why there was a reduction in carbon emissions and not more is the fact that a lot of people are tending towards owning two vehicles, one electric and one ICE, and then using the ICE vehicles during the winter months when the range challenges might pop up for the EVs, and that most people have chosen to, if they're only having one vehicle, to make it an ICE vehicle. Again, Norway is a cold place, so battery management challenges definitely influence what's going on there. The fourth argument made sort of against what Norway is doing is the fact that Norway has $1 billion in the bank based on selling fossil fuels. And even though the electricity being used for most of the electric vehicles are coming from hydroelectric power produced, it's still part of the pollution problem as it sells, these EV products. And speaking of Model 3s that are rolling by us there, I don't know if you can see the red one going by, but again, we're at Catholic University and we have a little bit of electric cars popping up in the discussion. So, the final note on Norway is the fact that there's been a lot of resources poured into it. There are a lot of, with things like EV credits and the fact that electric vehicles can drive in bus lanes, which reduces the amount of public transport or the efficiency of it based on electric vehicles. There are just a large number of arguments against why it is Norway has made this transition to EVs and whether or not it's a good use of resources. We still think that's the case, and we also know that there's a concerted effort by those that want to sell more oil to make sure that you find ways to denigrate the progress made with electric vehicles, but I still think it's a worthwhile effort to do it. I suppose the last argument that we had heard was that it turns out that places like China and India are increasing their use of oil while you're seeing a similar decrease in first world countries. So again, suggesting that, is it really worth the effort to move over to EVs, etc. I still think it's worth it. Would be intrigued to hear what your comments are on it as well. So a few things to think about relative to the Norway miracle, and we think this is also a hatchet job in terms of encouraging folks to not really make an effort for EVs based on the lack of real impact on what matters. So really look forward to what you guys have to say on these topics. Not a long show today because we're running out of light, but happen to be in an area where we've got a chance to have some really nice views. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. I wanted to say hello to all of you who greeted me during the show, and thank you for doing so. Just remember, we'd love for you to like and subscribe if possible, as well as help us out on Patreon if you can. As you can hear, our bells are rolling in right now. And I wanted a reminder, don't go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4 hours to let the food digest. And don't forget the 25 leg lifts per leg each day to strengthen your quad muscles and therefore strengthen your knees and your entire body. Let me know if you want more health tips added. We've got a whole bunch of them, but have been reluctant to do it heavily to avoid getting zinged for doing so. But we want you to be healthy and also enjoy your EV. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, lehitrot, Hebrew, Hoda Hafez, Farsi, Zdravstvuyte, Russian, Ni hao ma, Chinese. In Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk good, man. And thanks once again for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Have a great day. Bye for now. And please leave your comments. We'd love to have them. Bye for now.